Discuss this further now with Tariko Uzlu. He is a professor of international relations at Istanbul Aydın University and joins me now. Professor, what are your thoughts just a couple months after this deal was reached in Madrid? Do you believe that Finland and Sweden will be able to fulfill the measures that they agreed upon?
I think it is a very challenging task on facing Turkey, Finland, and Sweden to comply with the terms of this agreement signed in late June, because it very much concerns about their domestic politics. Because as we already know, that there are many elements in Finland and Sweden who are very much against the idea that Turkey should be given a kind of green light. Turkey should be given a kind of authority regarding the membership of these two countries in NATO, because we also know that Finland and Sweden host sizable Kurdish communities in their home countries. So, and these Kurdish communities are also quite powerful in terms of internal politics in those two countries. So they put so much pressure on the decision makers to avoid any kind of impression that they are extraditing their members to Turkey under Turkish pressure. But on the other hand, we also know that Turkey is in the middle of a kind of election season. So it is also very difficult for Turkish leaders not to comply with the kind of terms that were already agreed. So Turkey will take it to the further point, and most likely, if there is no cooperation coming from Finland and Sweden on this particular issue, I am somehow pessimistic that the Turkish parliament will not ratify it. This is quite important, but we also know that 23 members of NATO has already ratified the accession protocols. So this is a kind of pressure on Turkish shoulders. So we have to wait and see. We have to look how Americans and other members of NATO would react to the details of this agreement. But this is a very positive sign that these three countries meeting today in Finland to discuss the further steps that need to be taken alongside this process. So we have to wait and see.
Right. As we heard in Andrew Hopkins' story just a moment ago, we have seen some measures from Sweden in regards to this deal, but not to Turkey's satisfaction. Do you think this is a disconnect between what Turkey wants and Sweden's understanding of it, or do you think it's Sweden is doing it intentionally to make it look to the international community like they are taking steps?
I think this is very normal regarding diplomatic texts, because these texts are written in such a way to give multiple meanings to multiple people. If you approach the text from the Turkish perspective, you will see that Finland and Sweden have already committed to pledge some particular points. But on the other hand, Finland and Swedish authorities say that this is a kind of document that gives them a lot of degree of maneuvering capacity, so putting their internal concerns at the very center of their cooperation process. So depending on the side, you try to interpret this meaning, this agreement. So there are multiple versions of how to read it. But at least Swedish Prime Minister has already underlined that they will comply with the terms. And I think by terms, she meant the way how Turkish authorities mean it, interpret it. So we have to see that some members of this PKK grouping in Sweden be extradited to Turkey, and maybe some other people who are very closely affiliated with FETÖ terror organization be given to Turkey. Unless those people be given to Turkey, Turkey will not feel itself satisfied that the terms have been complied to the successful degree. But this is a very difficult process, so it needs much more time and much more elaboration. I think it is technically impossible to solve it in a week time or in a month time. So it takes lots of time, I guess so.
Right, and you mentioned that pressure on Turkey with more and more of these NATO countries ratifying Finland and Sweden's bid. At what point do you expect to see Turkey be satisfied with Sweden and Finland's efforts and to approve their bid?
I think if a great number of people who are already affiliated with FETÖ and PKK are given to Turkey, and this will make Turkish authorities feel quite happy with the terms of the agreement, or these two countries might pledge further commitments saying that, okay, if you let me if you let us get in the club by ratifying this process in your parliament. So I further promise that we will take some other steps to make you feel quite happy after the event. But if those promises are written in a vague way or they are interpreted differently, so this will not also satisfy Turkey. Maybe another term, another agreement will be signed throughout this process.
Okay.
Because it is really difficult for Turkey to say no if all other members of NATO have already ratified the accession protocols. This is a kind of diplomatic bargaining.
Right.
We
Totally.
have to be,
Great.
yeah.
Completely understand. Professor Tariko Uzlu, thank you for your time.
My